In this video, we'll talk about how we compare two measures of productivity. What often happens is we have our first set of calculations here. If you want to go back and review, these are single factor productivity calculations, and the first video will show you how to do those. But just as a quick reminder, it's basically the output divided by the input, and so that tells us that in this case, the labor, we are able to get 0.125, not even a full carpet clean, a rug clean per hour of labor. 0.65 clean rugs per gallon of solvent, and 3.25, so 3.25 clean rugs for every day of machine rental. So we have a set of single factor productivity measurements. Now, what we want to do is make a comparison to see if we've improved. And so the output is still the same, but even if the output were to change, we could recalculate the productivity measurements. It looks like our labor hours went down, maybe through some training, but it looks like we're using more solvent. And so this actually went up, and then it looks like machine rental days stayed the same. And so we would want to calculate the single factor productivity measurement. So once again, we would take the output and divide it by the inputs, and that gives us 0.13 clean rugs per hour. So there is some improvement. We did decrease in our productivity in regards to solvent. Instead of using we were able to get 0.65 of a clean rug per gallon. We're now only getting 0.59 of a clean rug per gallon. And of course, this stayed the same because the output and the input, at least in regards to machine rental days, stayed the same. So we know that in this case, this one's the easy one to calculate, that there was a 0% increase, that it didn't change. So we could just put in here 0% and just build it in automatically. Let's make sure that's formatted correctly here. Now let's take a look at the other ones and actually calculate the percentage change. The easiest way to calculate the percentage change is to simply take the difference. In this case, you want to take the new productivity measurement and minus the old productivity measurement, because if it's gone up, we want to show that as a positive. So we're hoping that our second number is better, and so we take the second number and subtract the first number. Now we're comparing based on that first number, how much we increased, and so we build that in. We divide by this. So you take the difference and you divide by the comparison point, or the starting point. And so we wind up with, once again, we need to format these things. Right now it appears to be formatted for currency, so we'll change these to percentages and show 2 decimal places. And so what we have here is we have a 4% increase over our previous numbers. So we improve by 4%. We can do the same thing here. Of course, here we went down, so you're going to end up with a negative number. So you take the new productivity measurement minus the old one. That's going to give us a negative number, which is fine. And then, of course, our reference point, our starting point to compare to, we divide by that. And so we actually went down 9%. Now you could sum up these and give you an overall. It looks like overall we probably went down about 5% in productivity. We could also do this from a multi-factor standpoint, as we showed you in the second video. If you can convert all these into dollars and then combine then the inputs, so you would take the dollar amount of all the inputs and divide it by the outputs. You could compare then those two amounts, the difference between those. But as was pointed out in the second video in multi-factor, it's always better to calculate single factor productivity, because in this case, like I said, from a multi-factor standpoint, we would show a decrease of 5%. Well, that's not really the whole story, because you see that we actually improved in labor 4%. We went down in solvent 9%. And so that's one of the drawbacks of doing multi-factor. So it's always preferred to do each of these individually, even if we had them into dollar amounts and not in labor hours and gallons and machine rental days. Even if we convert them all into dollars, I would still do them separately to calculate these separate percentages. And then we can combine the percentages overall to get a multi-factor productivity, but it's better to see these, because in some cases they may cancel each other out, and you may find that you've improved in certain areas but haven't in other areas.